Hey everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel. We are getting to the final stretch for Christmas and I've got some good DIY Christmas gifts to share with you that are my family favorites. So if you want how to make them, stick around. I'll show you how. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Right, Maxwell? Okay, for this first one, I'm just going to show you how easy it is to pour beautiful candles for Christmas. You can use small little tins like that. I got those on Amazon. You can use these bowls, but you have to make sure that they are safe for wax. I ordered these from Etsy and I stated that I'm using them for candles. You can also use jars, little tins, anything that is for a candle. You don't just want to use any kind of vessel because they're not all safe for candles. Next, I'm going to wick my jars, and I'm going to use 2 wicks in these because these are a little bit larger container than I normally use. And then I'm using these wick stickers. Now, you don't have to use a wick sticker. You can just use a hot glue gun to glue these down into the bottom. But it makes it a little bit easier if you want to do that, but hot glue works just as good. Make sure that you are getting them centered in your container. Now, there are different size wicks for different size containers. If you really want to do this for a business or something like that, check out candlescience.com and they have a wick calculator that'll tell you for whatever kind of vessel you're using, what size wick you need. And then I'm wrapping these around a pencil to hold them up so they stay in place while I'm pouring my candle. And then I went back in and added a little bit of blue tape on the side to hold my pencil down. And I do put these on a cookie sheet. It's a little bit easier to do that. Then you can transport them later. And on my little tins, I'm just putting my little wick right down into the center of the little tin. And then for my 2-ounce containers, I'm just using a wick that's for like a votive. And I'm just going to put it right down into the center. And then I'm going to use a clothespin to hold this in place. For my mason jars, I'm just turning them over so I can make sure that I do get it stuck right into the center. And then put a little clothespin on those to hold those up. My bowls, I'm going to double wick those as well. And I'll give you the link for these bowls. I got these on Etsy. And if you just want a candle making kit, you can pick up some of those from Amazon. I'll give you a link for one that uses those little 2-ounce ones, and you can make quite a few little candles with that for Christmas pretty easily. And then I'm just wrapping a pencil around these on both of them to hold these in place while I'm pouring my wax. If you want a beginner, user-friendly wax, Golden 646 is a great one to start with, or you can pick up one of those complete kits on Amazon to make your candles. Okay, next to calculate my wax, I'm using 8-ounce containers, 6 of them, so 48 ounces of wax. And you will need a pouring pot to melt this in, and those do come with some of those kits on Amazon. And then you're going to weigh your container, push the tar button so you're down to 0, and then start adding your wax in here. I'm using a slab wax for my candles today. I've had this for a little while, so I'm trying to burn it up, but you can use any kind of soy wax that you want to. And a lot of those kits already come with some soy wax. And then when I did my calculation on how much wax I need, I forgot to tell you that you need to deduct the amount of fragrance oil from that amount to get your exact wax. So I'll show you here in a minute how much fragrance oil I'm going to put into this, and you deduct it from that 48 so that you have exactly the right amount of wax. And I'm using a 9% fragrance load on this. So I'm going to weigh my container, push the tar button. So I'm going to use 48 ounces times 9, and that's 4.32 ounces. So you're going to deduct that 4.32 ounces from that 48 to get your exact wax amount. And I'm going to use a double boiler to melt this in. I'm using a thermometer to put that in. You can use any kind of thermometer, and then just pour enough till it's about 1 inch above the bottom of your container. And you're going to melt this down till it hits 185 degrees. And if you're new to candle making, these really aren't that hard to make. As a matter of fact, you'll get addicted to making them. And then once that hits 185 degrees, so I'm starting off, it's going to be 178. It start rising. I'm already at 183. At 185, you take it out. And then you pour in your fragrance. And you're going to stir your fragrance for 2 full minutes. And don't skip on this part because this is what's going to bind the wax and the fragrance together. And you can use any kind of fragrant oil you want to. I'm using a Fraser Fir, and I'll give you the link for the one that I'm using. But set a timer and do 2 full minutes. When you're pouring these, pour slowly and kind of pour straight in the center. And I'm going to stop when I get to about 1 inch below the lid. And pouring slowly will help you keep from getting air bubbles in it. And that's what, if you see candles that are not attached to the side of their jar, it's because they didn't pour them slowly. And pour these in small batches. It works a lot better that way. And then these have cork lids, so I'm going to stop enough so that that lid will go into the top part and not touch my wax. But do pour slowly. And then on my bowls, I'm going to stop about 1 inch from the top. And then on the small tins, I would stop about at least 1/4 of an inch from the top. And then be sure and add your clothespin so your candle wick stays in place. And just set all these aside and let them cool without touching them. And once they've all dried, you're just going to clean any wax that's spilled over the side of them off at this time. Just really clean them up. And then you're going to cut your wicks at 1/4 of an inch. And just put your lids on them. If you're selling your candles, you do have to put a warning label on the bottom of each one. And you can buy these on Amazon. They come in a roll. To package these, I've given you these tags in the description below. You can just download them, print them on some cardstock, and then they're lined up just perfectly that you can use a paper cutter to cut these out. To package these, I'm just putting these into a clear bag, and I'm putting a piece of greenery on top of the candle. And then just hold the top part of your bag, and we're going to tuck the corners in on the bottom underneath our bowl. This just kind of gives it a nice cleaned edge. And then I'm just taking a clear rubber band to put around the top, and then I'm going to add my tag and a nice bow. And then I'm just attaching my tag with the baker's twine, and then I'm just going to tie a pretty ribbon right around the top part. These really didn't take that long to make. All the candles that I showed you that I made in this video, I made them in one day. And you can sell these at craft fairs if you want to. These really make nice gifts. Look how pretty that is. The rest of my candles, I'm just going to bag them. And then I am going to take some tape and box in the corners so that they are kind of clean on the bottom of my bag. Just tuck up underneath with a little piece of tape. And I'm going to throw a piece of greenery inside of this. Tie it off at the top. I'm going to add a tag. And then I'm going to tie a bow on them. Just really spend some time on your packaging because it really does make a difference. Just add a pretty bow, then you got a nice gift. Look how pretty that is. Let me know which is your favorite in the comments today. Package my little travel candles. I am going to put 3 of these in each bag. I'm adding a tag and a ribbon, and then I'm going to finish it off with a little wreath right over the top part of the bag. All right, look how cute that turned out. And then for my metal tins, I'm just taking some garland. I'm going to make a little wreath to go on top. And I'm going to bag these just like I did the other one, put my wreath inside. I'm going to tie it off. I'm going to add my tag, then add my bow. And greenery really does make a package look good. Look how cute that is. For this next one, I'm using some Aroma beads. I'll give you the link for these in the description below. And then I'm going to put my jar on the scale and get it down to 0 so that I can get the exact weight of the beads I'm putting in here. Now, these will hold 2 ounces of fragrant oil per pound. I'm not going to put quite that much in this jar because it won't hold a full pound. So I am going to have to kind of measure it, do a little bit of calculation, and then figure out exactly what fragrance percentage I'm going to put in here. And I'm using a Fraser fir on this as well. If you buy one fragrant oil, just do all your projects exactly the same fragrant, and then you only have to buy once. Now I'm only going to put 0.65 ounces of fragrant oil in here. I thought that was enough for this because this is a little bit of a stronger scent. Okay, next you're just going to put your lid on and you're going to shake this up really well. And you're going to let this absorb overnight, probably 24 hours until it's completely absorbed before you place it into other containers. Now, if you don't have a scale, you can just measure this out. It's not going to be against your skin or anything like that. So you could put a little bit more or a little bit less of the fragrance oil in there and you just can kind of guess a little bit on that. But really shake it up good. Make sure that it is totally absorbed before you go to the next step. Okay, next I'm going to fill my jars. Now, I got these jars on Amazon. They have a vented cap and then they have a piece of cardboard inside of them to keep it from coming out before you gift this. And then once you gift it, they can just take the lid off, remove the insert, and then set this somewhere where they can smell the good fragrance. And you want to fill these pretty full. And I'll give you the link for these jars that I got. These are from Amazon. They were pretty inexpensive and they will hold the fragrance really easily. And you do get 8 jars in this one kit, and this 1 pound of aroma beads did fill all 8 of my jars. And just make sure that you put your lids on really tight. And to package these, I'm just going to use a 5 by 11 inch treat bag. I'm just going to slide it all the way down to the bottom, and I'm going to box the corners in like I do on all the treats and things that I make. So this really does kind of dress it up a little bit, cleans it up, and then I'm just going to tie a rubber band around the top. And then for the tag, I've given you that in the description below. You just download it, print it, and cut it out. And I'm just using some cardstock. And then I decide to open my bag up, add a little piece of greenery just to kind of dress it up a little bit. And then I'm going to tie it back up, put my tag on, and put a ribbon around the front. These really do make great gifts. I mean, everybody likes something that smells good in their home. I do. And if you don't want to buy some fragrance oil, you can always use some essential oil in a pine fragrance or whatever fragrance that you want. And then I'm just going to tie a bow right around the front, and that pretty much finishes this off. Okay, look how simple that is. Let me know what you think in the comments. This next one, this is the simplest of all. I'm just using the cashmere body oil, and then I'm using some roll-on perfume bottles. And you can get those on Amazon. I'll give you the link for them. And what you're going to do is you're just going to fill your bottles with the body oil. And if you want to do several different fragrances, you could put several of them together, but you're just going to completely fill your bottle up until you get to the bottom of that neck. And I'll give you the link for where I got this cashmere body oil. It smells amazing. Then you're going to put one of the little balls in with a little cap. You just push them together. And you make sure that you get it in there good because you do not want this to leak. And then just kind of wipe it off really good. Get you a clean rag. You are going to have to push this pretty good. And sometimes if you just turn it upside down onto your counter, push it, it locks into place a lot easier. And then just put your cap on. And I'm going to fill all my bottles exactly the same way. And the best part about this one is you already know it's skin safe. All the ingredients are in it. And then you can just use it as a roll-on perfume. These do make a great roll-on perfume. And you can gift a lot of these with 1 bottle of that body oil. And just make sure that you spend some time getting these pretty clean. You could use some rubbing alcohol to make it a little bit easier. Next, I've given you these tags in the description below. You're just going to download them and then print them on a cardstock and cut them out. Now, all the tags that I've done today are pretty much very similar because I am going to make gift baskets with a lot of these that go together. They do look good when they got a similar theme. Next, I got these wreaths at Michael's, and I'm just going to take the red bow off of them. Now, when you do that, it does pull them apart, so you will have to glue them back together. And when you're gluing them, just try to make sure that you are getting them round again. Just like the other tags, I'm just going to punch a hole in these, and I'm going to attach these to my bag with some baker's twine. I'm just going to attach my tag right around the bottom of the lid, just tie it off right there. And then once I tie that off, I'm going to add one of those little green wreaths right over the top part of my lid. Just push it on down there and push that right over the top of it. This really dressed it up a little bit. And then I'm just taking a black and white check ribbon, and I'm just going to tie a bow right around the center. Okay, I think this one turned out super simple. Let me know what you think. And you could do different fragrances and give them maybe a trio of them, of some other ones that are kind of similar in scent. This next one, I'm just using some half-ounce little tins I got from Amazon. I'll give you the link for them. And I am putting gloves on for this one because we are making a lip balm, and I'm going to show you how simple it is. But you probably want to wear gloves on this part. And I'm just going to go ahead and open all my jars so I can have them ready to pour. You're going to start with a 1/4 cup of white beeswax, the little pellets, and then you're going to add a 1/4 cup of coconut oil. Now, you don't need a scale to do this. You can just use a measuring cup for this. I just did it because I didn't want to have to put it into my measuring cup and scoop it back out. And I got both of those on Amazon. I'll give you the link for them. So just put that in there with that. And then we're going to put it in the microwave, and we are going to microwave it at 30-second intervals until it is completely melted. And you need to take it out and stir it between each 30 seconds. Now, your coconut oil is going to melt first, and then it's going to take a little bit of time to get your beeswax to melt. Don't try to rush this. Don't put it in for 2 or 3 minutes and let it run. You need to stir every 30 seconds just to make sure that it does get incorporated good. Okay, next I'm going to add my flavor. Now, this is not a fragrance. This is a flavor oil, and I'm using a brown sugar on this. And I'm going to take a pipette, and I'm going to fill it up and then put it in here just slowly. You don't want too much. I'm kind of making mine a little bit on the light side because I don't want it too strong. You just want it where it has a little hint of flavor to it and it has a little hint of smell to it. And then I'm just going to slowly fill up each one of my containers, and then I'm going to put these aside and let these completely cool. And I'll give you the link for these measuring cups. They're really handy because they do have that long neck on them. And you can fill these pretty easily without making a big mess. Next, after they've dried for a few hours and they're solid, you can just put your lids on them. And just kind of wipe any of them off that you got any of the wax on. Next, I've given these labels in the description below. You can just download and print them. And I printed mine on a vinyl sticker paper. And you can just cut them out by hand if you want to. They're 1 1/4 inch, or you can get a hole punch and punch them. And you can also use your Cricut if you have one. You could do the print and cut. That'll work good too. You can also sharpen your punch if you have one and it's a little bit dull. Just take some foil and stamp it out a few times. This will really sharpen up the blades on those. The vinyl stickers I'm using, they're good for both inkjet and laser printers. And they peel apart pretty easily. And then we're just going to put one right in the center of each one of our tins. Okay, then to package these, I got these little 2-inch boxes from Amazon. I'll give you the link for them. You get quite a few in a pack, and they're real easy to put together. And then I'm going to put some crinkle paper into the bottom of these, and I'm going to put 2 of those lip balms in each one of these. This is a quick and easy way to package these, and it really turned out super cute. And then for the tags, I've given you those in the description below. You just download and print them on some cardstock. And I'm using an 1/8-inch hole punch. I'm running some green and white checked ribbon through the center of it. And when I get to my center point, this is going to be where the top is. I'm just going to wrap it around my box, wrap it around the bottom, and then come back up the other side and tie a bow on top. And I think these turn out so cute. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know which one of these is your favorite today. Okay, for this next one, I'm just using some soap molds, and I'm going to wipe them down with some rubbing alcohol. Just really clean them up good. This one, we're going to use equal amount of the beeswax pellets and the soy wax. And it's just equal amounts of both. Now, you don't have to melt this on a double boiler. I am. You can melt this into the microwave too. It just takes a little bit of time, and you have to stop and stir every 30 seconds. So just make sure that you are getting equal amount of both the beeswax and the soy wax. Okay, next I'm going to take some greenery. I'm going to cut it just to make sure it'll fit into the cavity of my mold. Now, you don't have to use greenery. You can use orange slices, cinnamon sticks, anise seed, anything that you want to put in this. These are going to be room fresheners that are going to hang. I'm going to add a pine cone to each one. I would highly recommend laying out your design first and then leaving a spot at the very top so you can put a hole to hang it with. If you lay it out, then once the wax is put in here, you know exactly how you want to put this back together. And I'm mixing the two together and I'm going to melt it. Now, your soy wax is going to melt faster than your beeswax. And again, you can do this in the microwave. I just think it's easier to do it on a double boiler because it melts faster. So I'm going to take some Fraser Fir fragrant oil and I'm going to add 10%. So if you have 24 ounces of the wax, then you need to put 2.4 ounces of the fragrant oil and then mix it in there real good. And you want to stir this for a couple of minutes. And then you're just going to pour it into your mold. Now my molds are 3 1/4 by 2 1/4 and they're 3/4 inches deep. I'm only filling my cavities half full. And then once you get these poured, you're going to let them dry for a little bit and then we're going to add our greenery to them. And you want to carefully put what you're putting in here onto it so it does stay on top. Just kind of push it down just a little bit, but you definitely want to make sure that your wax is cool enough so it doesn't sink down into it. Just kind of I'm taking some tweezers to do it because it's a little bit easier that way. Just kind of push those down into the wax. And then on the greenery, I'm just kind of laying it on top and kind of lightly tapping it to get it to hold in there. Don't push it down really hard. Otherwise, it's going to go under the wax and it's not going to be pretty anymore. To make our hole, we're just going to take a straw, stick it right down into the center up at the top. Just push those straight down. And then we're going to cut the other side off. I should have cut them off before I put them in here. And then we're going to use the other half of those for the other side. And then you're going to leave them right where they are and you're going to let them dry completely. Don't try to move them. So those have completely cooled. Just go ahead and remove them from your mold and then take your straw out and you should have a hole right in the center to hang them with. And to hang these, I'm just taking a piece of white jute, running it through here, and then I'm just going to tie it off at the top. And then for the rest of mine, I decided to make my string just a little bit longer, just in case that they need it to be a little bit longer, because they can shorten it up if they need to. Next, to wrap these, I've given you these labels in the description below, and I'm just printing mine on some craft colored cardstock. Now, if you just come down maybe about 1/8 of an inch from the top and then just start cutting these at 1 1/2 inches, you should be able to get these pretty straight. You're going to start in the center, just wrap it around there, kind of get your folds pretty even, and then just cut it a little bit short on both sides, and then tape it together. Now you can see that I have some printing on the opposite side. I printed mine wrong at first, but I didn't want to waste the paper, so I reused it. And you're going to do all of those exactly the same way. This just gives it a nice finishing touch before we bag them. Okay, then to bag these, I'm just taking a 5 by 11 inch cellophane bag and I'm going to slide it down into the bottom onto one side. And then I'm going to fold it over, tape it shut so it is pretty tight in there. And then I'm going to add a rubber band around the top with the cord. So I'm going to rubber band the cord in there too. And then I'm just going to tie it off with a nice ribbon right around the front. And this recipe made quite a few, so if you're looking to give to a lot of people, this is definitely a good one to make. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the video today. I hope it gave you some inspiration. All of the things that I made in my video today really do make great gifts. I get asked from my family each year for a lot of these. So if you like these kind of videos, be sure and give me a like, subscribe, and ring that bell to be notified when I have a new video upload. Thank y'all so much for being here. I really appreciate it. And if nobody's told you today, you're awesome. See you next time. Thanks for watching.